What's going on, YouTubes? Time for a recap. What a friggin' long today. Let me show you how we got it. We were in the Discord today calling buying highs like an animal on these. Some of these we were buying highs at 17,948 going for the 18K and above on the breakout of this GP. Absolute monster trades. I went over a couple of things after the long scam on the VIX shakeout today with tons of no GPs. We're going to go over that today as well. And we're going to go over some of these targets that I called out for the day. 18,400 from yesterday's calls will play today. We got really close to that target within 100 of that one. And of course, 40 on the VIX. So my big precursor was 18,400. We changed this to 18,300 during the pre-market breakdown. And I will show you because this was way at 6 in the morning here on Central Time. Nope, 7, but we're coming down. So we had a really big opportunity to see a really good setup on the anchors today. Easy scam up past 17,900, rate to 18K, doing those scalps we'll go over here as well. But yeah, we had a banger of a day for a call and NQ. So how did we do it? Let's get into it. Well, like we talked about, as always, we put our high-low Fibonacci on the gold levels, okay? So gold levels here, this is the open of today's, or well, yesterday's futures, comes in and holds that golden pocket, right? So if you're confused or new here, we fib out the high-low of the prior trade day, okay? So if this is today, in the red day, the green is the prior day with the Fibonacci's in the gold, okay? And, well, I'll go over that in a second. I don't want to bounce around too much. So after hours, I do want to point out that we've seen this beautiful little golden Fibonacci hold, right? So the day prior is that high-low. See that big old squeeze that we talked about? It came through and ended up holding the golden pocket all through until the morning, till we got this big ramp up. And then I called 18,300 from 18,000. So anything over 18,000 we were talking about here, we're just going to loop, and she was gone with the wind. And we put a price target of 18,339 and a quarter being the first target we've seen, and or yesterday's highs, which is in the orange dash line. And of course, very close to that golden fib. It's not on absolutely perfect, but that, like we just said, that golden fib should be exactly, on yesterday's highs. So how did I get 18,339? Well, I was looking for the weekly. So let's start off like we always do with daily and weekly Fibonacci's. Let's build this one together real quick and teach you guys how we did it. Oh, this is an old school one. We'll clear this weekly drawing. Bam. So clearly we're on this week still, and we are formulating this week's candle. This is last week's candle, okay? And we talked on last YouTube video about backtesting and confirmations. Last week, we sliced through the 100 EMA on the weekly chart in the green, and we were talking about needing a backtest of it before we head down for the 16K gap target on NQ. But what do we do with that? Well, the weekly, we do high-low, right? I'd like to color this teal. That's my weekly color. And then daily, like we've seen, but we're going to leave that daily off for now because I want to go over the weekly first so you can get it step by step. So we were inside and opened into the last week from yesterday. Today's Tuesday. This is Monday. Remember that big old gnarly squeeze that we had called gnarly 170 plus points on ES yesterday? It was absolutely massive. That push opened up inside the weekly. So again, we're on the intraday, obviously. If you see that weekly scale, we go from about 20K, about 17,381.50, okay? The golden pocket is clearly right here in between, right? So this is the golden pocket of last week. And generally speaking, when we get inside the candle, which means Monday breaks back inside last week's candle, okay? Here's last week's Friday, that dump. Huge gap down we played on the Sunday. Launches itself on the Monday trade session, and it maintains inside the 100 fib. So again, it is above 17,381.50. That's the weekly last week low, okay? We opened up here inside that. So the rules of Fibonacci state, we have a really good chance to backtest the golden pocket, right? So anything above those weekly lows, we come back up and we have a chance to go to the GP. Did we get it? Nope, shied it by a little bit, but that's fine. We stack indicators. What was next that we just talked about? Let's draw it together. Daily chart now, okay? So again, yesterday's action, because we're planning for a day trade today. We always turn these gold. We're trying to create multiple points of confluence. Now we have two fibs. Weekly teal, last week's high-low, yesterday's high low Monday. Okay. Those are the fibs. So when we put that fib on and we get yesterday's high low, right? We are riding that area of GP. I think why do I draw this? Why is this all messed up? That's right, isn't it? It is. That's today. Must have adjusted a little bit wrong. I might even had it adjusted wrong on the day. Interesting. Let's take a peek anyway. All right. So we actually shied the GP. This is actually brand new. This recap's going to turn into something different now. Okay. So I had the high low. Let me double check on the high low from the gold here yesterday. Oh, you know what I did? I know what I did. I used the high-low range of the squeeze. Okay, so this is the true gold. Wow, this changes my perspective of today at all. So this is what I screwed up on, team. So I went from that high squeeze to the low squeeze from the earlier part of this video, and I said it was riding that GP. Look at that. That was not yesterday's GP. Oh, Brandon, you messed up. Let's go over this mess up. This is cool. Whenever we mess up, we learn more, okay? So as we come into this day, I actually, man. So what I did is I took the Trump squeeze yesterday on that tariffs news as other countries were doing it. And I just did a high-low. And I just told you guys that we held the GP and held the GP. And that was a complete lie. That was wrong. Here's yesterday's lows. Here's yesterday's highs. Wow. Wow, did we get skunked today on that short? Okay, so this is the real trade plan I would have did today. Wow, this is crazy. So we opened up above that golden pocket, never tagged. Avoid the first part of this whole video. Delete what you just heard. Never tagged. Came all the way up to the GP yesterday's high of the weekly, never tagged. This is a lucky squeeze, plain and simple now. That was not supposed to happen. That was pure luck. Wow. Well, we are lucky. I'd rather be lucky than good. Okay, so here is how I would have played this today, even though we did a solid 4K day, on the smalls. But okay, so yesterday's high-low. We always use the golden pockets in the gold. And look at this. It did not hit. Shied. So once it ran away and started the dump, your target would have been GP. This is a first tag. Oh, you idiot, Brandon. Okay. Well, as we're going to continue to break this down here, I wanted to get 18,300. That was the call. Anything over 18,000. Now, we did get a good squeeze. It was a great push over 18,000, and we netted equal highs, even though we didn't get to them, right? But why didn't we get to them? Why did we miss the yesterday's highs and the weekly? Because we never actually tagged the GP. We just found that out. I drew it wrong. I thought that was yesterday's lows right here, and I had it wrong. It was actually further down. So the whole session overnight from 5 p.m. right here was a no tag GP. And when it ran up right there, hit resistance, we had to come down to the GP. That's our general rule. Wow, round of applause for that miss. Okay, so I would have been able to anticipate the short way easier than today. Wow. Okay, well, whatever. We stayed at green. Let's get the Qs now and talk about that golden pocket tag again. Now, QQQ, we had the gap level, right? And then I said, guys, last YouTube video, fib out this floater. That floater right there on the daily chart was going to be a very, 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 very tried and true Fibonacci, okay? So we have the same weekly, okay? Let's back up here a little bit. We have the same weekly last week in the teal, okay? Yesterday, gold on the QQQ, right? And then we pushed up, and then we look for the golden pocket. So again, the GP, which is right here, yesterday's high-low in the Q, generally deserves a tag. That's between the 61.8 and 38.20. Doesn't matter which way you draw them. So yesterday's highs was actually an equal short. Wow, that's crazy. I should have, man, that would have been a beautiful short. Once it failed yesterday's highs, it was going GP. Yep. Man, I'm kicking myself for that one. I could have made a lot more money at the end of the day here, knowing my sentiments. That's okay. All right, so what's next? I kind of messed up this weekend because I didn't even have the fibs drawn right. What's next? What's the expectation? Let's go over to SPY real quick because I do want to talk a little bit about this. Gap shy as well. So if you notice the SPY, we had a really big over-under, and we talked about anything above 507.17. As long as we open that in pre, we had a chance to run up to the gap or yesterday's highs, and specifically the 2618.80. So on my last YouTube, we talked about going between the 3618 and 2 long. And as long as it held above that in pre, which we did get, we should come up to here. We got that plus some to yesterday's highs. That was the ending call. Let's take a peek at the daily chart and understand that this gap got shied, and we're actually in a more bullish momentum, or I'm sorry, bearish downside momentum because of that. So remember the gapper. This is what we said. It's got a double gap. It's got a gap above this daily candle and a gap below. Fib it to the downside. That's what I said in my last YouTube video, and then use the pickup point, okay? Anything above 500 will be perfectly fine, right? And we'll be drawing upside. Anything above 507.17 we called long to 518.44. That was the last YouTube video. Now, we did get that. So we did push up right here. That was that channel you see right here, and we made it. It happened in pre, unfortunately, and then it walked itself down to the GPs. Well, because SPY pushed now and did not fill that gap, right? Or didn't even test it, I should say, not fill it. We had no expectation of filling it. I wanted to test. So the double gap floater up here, if we draw a candle here, delete the fib so it's a little easier to see. Obviously, here's the gaps we're talking about, right? I'm going to put a level at the top of this lower gap candle, 528.87. I wanted to see SPY actually push into that gap and maybe even just fail it and come back down for a relax coming into CPI and some other banger of a news pieces later on, but we did not get that. What are we in danger of here? Well, we're going to do the same thing that we always do, right? I'm a boring trader. We have the trade systems. We have our big five that we usually use, stacking catalyst. We're going to fib out today is high-low, planning for tomorrow, right? Let's talk about it. So depending on what the overnight looks like here, this is what we're dealing with the candle. Now, again, this is yesterday's high-low. A golden pocket tag is generally warranted per day. It's very rare that you don't get a GP. Once in a while, if you were to come in and day trade every single day with a high-low Fibonacci like we do, and just utilize the golden pocket or the extension of, which means if you're outside of the fib range like this and it pushes to a 1618 extension, that's an extension. These are retracements. We have a full video on it. Check our Saturday live lessons. We teach that for every single Saturday. We have a live lesson pretty much every single Saturday. And as we get into more of this, you know, I don't need to call it a skill set. It's more of an indicator where we start using high lows no matter what, and you guys are only looking for retracements or only looking for outside the box extensions. You will fix your trading. I promise you that. You will get so consistent. So coming up, I think we'll still most likely deserve a GP tag. Now, tomorrow is Wednesday. We got some data coming in, and that is going to be a bigger point of interest for what we see. So when the data comes tomorrow morning, let me get my chart up here so I can check. I think it's a 7:30 like usual. Just want to make sure. Might be a 9 a.m. for the wholesale. 9 a.m. wholesale. CPI 7:30 is always Thursday. Jobs claims. All right, so wholesale inventories. I thought we had a bigger... No, it must be a late day. Oh, there it is. FOMC. Okay. So, holy scanner. So the FOMC meeting tomorrow, we generally get kind of a bunk day leading into FOMC because there's a lot of speculation. And that's not till about 1 p.m. Later on in the afternoon trade session of tomorrow. So what does that tell us? Well, if we hold inside yesterday's lows, we have a chance to gauge up to the golden pocket. That's going to be your long trade, okay? I want you guys to do this on the futures tonight for a little bit of homework. Go to your ES, grab your high-low of the day, and see if you can find... You don't have to trade this at all. I just want you guys to pay attention. Do exactly what we do always for the high-low. I want you guys to come in, set up the gold, and then look for the GP tag. So we got a pretty big psychological level. You can probably take a guess at what that is. 5,000, right? So if we open up and we got a banger of a candle, is that a fiver? It is a fiver. We're going to fib this out too. We're going to give you the whole setup for the 5 p.m. open. That's coming in 30 minutes. Bink. Just like that. Bink. Come on. Move over. All right, we go. Where's the GP? Right above 5? There it is. Okay. So my sentiment would be, all right, we got to get one of these GPs for sure, or at least that's what we're going to look for. If we hold the 5-minute GP right here, you're going to come up to the daily GP that we just drew. And this is going to be just a generalized sentiment, what we look for. We're not doing a trade call. We can't predict everything. You know, we do get some pretty good predictions, but there's no predicting this. We always on the fly trade. If we open up right here, right at 5K, and 5K is support, please long this. Don't let this go. You got a 60 point. No, this is ES. 60 point downside to lows here. If we get this GP right to the lows, we got about 50 points. If the top of the GP, if this holds and it goes back up, I'll give you the range that we have a really good opportunity to get into. Okay, we have an algo right there I can see, and I think this would be our highest point with the golden pocket. Okay. Anything above the GP or anything above yesterday's close to the GP, okay? The whole general area, okay? Don't wait till you get an absolute tag. If you're taking a long at 5013 or 5,000 and you're dipping up and all of a sudden you're 20 points, 30 points, 40 points up, take those profits on the way up, let some runners ride. But I think we're going to get 50-80 through the night here. That's best case scenario, or we open up, hold the 5K, chop it forever, and then we finally go in the morning and start to hit that GP. But anything above yesterday's close or this 5-minute GP, long biased above 5K, your best case scenario is going to be 100 points into 50-96 area, so just about. And 58 is going to be that stopper. I think, well, I'm not going to tell you why, but we do have a bunch of interesting candles right here. I think we'll tag too. So the 1618 becomes, yeah, you got 40 to 60 free points. I'll call it right there, 40 to 60. I'm going to use this candle. Anything above this GP, up to the 1618. Anything above yesterday's close, up to the 618. Bonus would be 5080. Take anything above 5K. Anything above 5K goes 5058, 5079, 79. Okay, those are your targets. And I'll play this open most likely tonight if we can. 20 minutes. Let's get this video uploaded. You want to watch me do this stuff live and trade with me for these crazy calls in the pre-market in the Discord? We do live stream, screen share, all the other good stuff. Link is in the description. Come join us. If you leave a comment, like, and you are a subscriber, you have a chance to win a Top Step account. We give away $50 accounts every Saturday, sometimes more than one, most of the time more than one or two. So if you don't want a Top Step account, just comment. You can win $50 on a Saturday. We have winners all the time. We'll look back at our lives. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in a few for Futures Open. Take care.